Have you been hearing all the rumors out there that if the president loses the election, he won't leave? Or have you heard that he's going to replace people on the Supreme Court because they're not voting in his favor from the United States Supreme Court? Or better yet, have you wondered why this current administration has appointed more federal judges in their first term than even President Carter did? By the way, one-term president. We have a guest today who's going to answer these questions and others. Find out more coming up next. Thursday. I'm Eric Mitchell, and this is To The Point. There's a lot going on in our world. This election 2020, COVID-19, civil rights are out of control, protests, monuments being pulled down, debates about renaming bases, the possibility that the Russians were putting hits out on our U.S. troops. It just keeps going and going. 2020 just will not behave itself, and we're hoping the second half of 2020 will be more like the New York Yankees than the Oakland Raiders. Yes, we're hoping for a better second half because the first half hasn't been pretty, and we're going to get a strict lecture at halftime. We're looking for leadership, and we know that, but we've heard a lot. Just in June alone, the Supreme Court handed down 3 rulings that went against the Trump administration by President Trump's own appointees, which kind of threw the president off. We heard him throw a temper tantrum and tweet loudly that something needs to be done. We've also heard the rumor that the president won't leave if he loses the election, or when he loses the election. Depends on where you sit on that. I guess people get that because they've been following what's going on in Russia. Just yesterday, the Russian parliament voted to make it so Vladimir Putin, our president's buddy, could stay in office longer. I think people mix communism for that. And remember, we're not going to go for that. We have rights in our country. In fact, we have the greatest freedom of speech of any free world country ever. People look at us, no matter how clown showy we look the last 3.5 years. Well, folks, we do have some amazing freedoms, and let's not take those away from ourselves. But we have an amazing guest today. He's returning. He is Richard Herman, who is also one of the best. Well, he is the CNN legal analyst for the past 20 years. Richard's going to be here to discuss some of these rumors we're hearing, and I also wanted to ask him about what is going on with why President Trump keeps appointing federal judges. More than even Jimmy Carter did in his first term. I don't know if this is something crazy. And also what we're going to discuss, because we've been hearing about it, is can the president pardon himself? Because we generally believe on his way out of office, he's going to pardon everybody. His clown show children, Vice President Pence, who's the biggest puppet we've ever met. All of these people are going to go down this pathway that we're going to find out how we can do it and why it's protected, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. Presidential pardons have been happening forever, so we just probably have to do it. But we've never had a president pardon himself. So without further ado, let's get to the point with our guest today. Welcome to the show, Richard. How are you doing today, bud?
I'm well. How are you doing? Staying healthy? Wearing your mask? Staying healthy?
I'm wearing my mask. I deal with the ridicule from certain people who, if I post a photo of myself wearing a mask or my son and I wearing a mask, I get told that I'm hurting my children's health. And I'm like, well, where are you getting this data from? And they usually give me some redneck with some like OSHA device in an elevator, like this is bad for you. Or they say, Trump said you don't have to wear one. I'm like, haven't you learned to do the opposite of everything that man does? But
everybody in the world says to wear them, including his professionals in his administration. But he says, no, I'm not going to wear one.
Oh,
Holds this rally in Arizona. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah, with the purifier? The purifier.
6,000 people stuffed in that room. Nobody's wearing a mask. Bunch of deplorable, ignorant morons in there. They're all going to get sick, and the hospital emergency rooms are going to overflow. Yeah. That's what's going to happen.
And you're seeing it across the country now. Texas going back to saying, we're not opening anymore. We're staying at our current level. I mean, we're seeing them spike all over. Florida, of course, the epitome of
you can listen to the governor of Florida a month ago, where this is a liberal Democratic hoax. This is garbage. This thing's going away. Look at my state. We're doing so good here. We're opening everything now. We're not going to have, it's the worst in the country right now, Florida. It's spiking out of control. And this ignorant moron is still in office. How they don't sue him for negligence and get him out is beyond belief.
It's Florida. We've come to decide Florida's like that state that you just kind of look at and you're just like, it's kind of like the White House. You kind of look at them and you say, do the opposite, children. Or, I don't know. I don't know about you. I don't want to go on a tangent, but I've seen so many things in the last 3 weeks come out of one person's mouth. One, to say that he is equal to Abraham Lincoln, which, I mean, no wonder Lincoln's up there on his monument with his hand in his head, because he's like, did he really just say that? I mean, I don't see why this president has such... Number one, let's just lay out the facts. One, he was upset about a poll, which, by the way, every poll say he's losing. And I know this was 4 years ago. No, that was Hillary. So go ahead. Everybody hated Hillary. Even Democrats hated Hillary. Okay, that's granted. Now, he's lied to us about the pandemic. Let's face it.
Well, he lied about everything.
Everything. I mean, even before the pandemic, he's been lying. It's not like he's been honest. I mean, every one of his big name hires, honorable generals, have spoken out, which brings me to a point, Richard, and I find it odd. There's a lot of alt-right and conservative media that actually worship the ground General Mattis walked on, but were quick to trash this man the moment he came out. I've seen people who've never served, and they're a host of shows, and I'm talking about Tucker Carlson and several others, that trashed a 40 years of service. And they just think, oh, well, generals don't do that. Yeah, they do. When they're good generals and they lead men into combat, yes, they do. Just because you sit behind a desk and you just worship the ground, the orange man that's on your TV, and you're just like, oh, I need him to tell me how great I am, that doesn't mean you get to go vilify generals. They've done it to Kelly when he was a Gold Star. I mean, General Kelly's not just a general in the Marine Corps. He's also a parent who lost a son in combat.
Look, he went after McCain. Come on, they went after McCain. But look at them, the way they treat Bolton. I mean, Bolton was the most staunch Republican ever, and now they're bashing him.
Of course, they do it to all of them. Everybody. Yeah. Colin Powell. And it just gets me going. And then suing, threatening to sue networks over their polls, and the masks don't work. I mean, it's just one thing after the other. But let's jump in. The Supreme Court has recently, in a matter of days, voted against the president. And it was his appointees that were leading the way. And then, strangely enough, the Supreme Court it kind of backpedals a bit when it comes to his immigration. But he was upset that the Supreme Court ruled against him twice in the last 2 weeks. Is this what we're going to see? Does he have any power to... I mean, have you ever seen that, with a president kind of flex his power on his appointees to the Supreme Court to use them to kind of say, hey, we want you to vote this way? Is that possible? Or are these guys, I mean, I'm not an attorney. I know you are. You've done it for a long time. You're distinguished. I mean, an amazing attorney. Supreme Court, can these guys be swayed, or are they pretty legit?
It's lifetime appointment. Nobody can fire them. They're not going anywhere. They don't have to fear the president or anybody. They can say what they want. The only one is this Kavanaugh. I'm keeping a good eye on this Kavanaugh, because there's a lot of things suspect as to how he got, nominated and actually got approved. Yeah. So he's the only one. The rest of them, I may not agree with their ideology, I may not agree with their analysis, but it's somewhat rational legal analysis, and Trump does not own them. He's got a couple, I think, in his hip pocket that he maybe could lean on a little, but they are not bound to him. They can say what they want and do what they want. You see that by the Chief Justice. He's Republican. He's going to go pro-Trump on it. No, he's not. And many of them have been in those positions, and it's bipartisan. They don't normally. Some of them will vote along party lines, and Trump has his three that are going to go, very conservative his way on everything. But it's those swing votes. It's those ones that are on the vine that, I don't think they can be persuaded by Trump. And look, he's dead man walking anyway. He's finished.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way this guy can win this election.
Yeah.
There's no way, unless it's complete stolen fraud, thievery. There's no way he can beat Biden right now. So you just got to keep Biden alive and breathing, make it to November, and get this guy out. That's what we have to do right now.
I want to be like Mr. Vice President. Did you hear that? We just need you to keep breathing and do whatever you need to do. Just take his insults. I
like how people are criticizing his campaign strategy. His campaign strategy is brilliant. His lead is going up every single day in polls, and they say he's not out enough. He's doing perfect. I would just make sure, check his blood pressure every day, give him his vitamins, put him on a treadmill a couple days a week, give him some high protein food and some great, nice diet, and stick away from the fried stuff and keep him alive and kicking, because, he doesn't even have to debate Trump. If I was him, I wouldn't even debate Trump. I would just, let's get to the election. Let's get there. There's nothing he can say that, is going to help him anymore. He's the guy. It's going to be full out. We've seen Trump. We've heard all his bullshit. We've watched him. He's lied to us from the size of his inauguration crowd till every day. I think it's 20 lies a day they're tagging him at. It's just, he's no credibility. The level of ignorance and incompetence is beyond breathtaking. So, it's TikTok. It's over. So we just got to get there. And it can't come quick enough, really.
You're telling me November. It seems like a long way away, November, right? So let me ask you this. The big thing that I've been seeing, I have a lot of friends that ask me this question, and I've told a few, I was interviewing you today. They come up with this one. There's a lot of reports talking about Trump's appointment of all these federal judges. In fact, he's appointed more federal judges in his first term than Carter, another one-termer. And I know McConnell has a lot to do. He's the most racist dinosaur we have there. I know everybody bashes on Pelosi and Schumer. McConnell is a cancer to every single thing, yet he continues to win in Kentucky in just the way that he is, but he's exposed like Lindsey Graham. 4 years ago, 2016, they trashed the very man that they worship the ground he walks on now. I mean, these guys are just, at least Pelosi's consistent. She just hates his guts, and I'm fine with that. But McConnell doesn't do anything, and they're appointing these federal judges after federal judges. And what I'm looking on research is they don't have a lot of experience. What does this mean to us? Because they don't leave when he leaves. They have federal judges stay, right?
Yeah, federal judge appointments for life. I mean, it's for life.
Wow. And
what happened was Obama had all these vacancies to fill. And every time they went to the Senate, McConnell said, no, I'm not going to listen. So they hung Obama out to dry, would not even entertain any of his suggestions for federal courtships. None. So when Obama leaves and Trump comes in, there's still all these vacancies, and you see how they're rushing to fill them, and they're filling them with good old boys that they think are going to go along with the party, and with the ideology, whatever that ideology is, because I still don't know what it is except other than insanity. But you look at some of the people that have been appointed, and this is very serious. I mean, state court judges run for election, it's political. Okay, these federal court judges are for life. You get a case in federal court, especially a criminal case, you go in there, and this judge doesn't even know where the courthouse is. They've never tried a case in their life. They've never tried a traffic ticket in their life. They don't know how to try cases. They don't know the nuts and bolts of litigation or the practice of law. They just graduated with a law degree and got pushed along, and now all of a sudden they've been appointed as federal court judges for life. I know my friends in the criminal defense bar, they're having a heart attack if they have to go up in front of these incompetent moron judges who are going to sit there where the freedom and liberty of your clients at stake, and you have to rely on the rule of law, which, we need another president to show us it still exists, the rule of law. because Trump ignores it. So, that's what we need. And it's scary. It's very scary. But he has the right to appoint them. There's the vacancies are there. And McConnell is just rubber stamping everything. They're doing everything they can to push these in and get as many on the bench as they can. And it's just doing such a disservice to this country, to this nation. You want qualified people. There's so many qualified attorneys to choose from. And they're picking incompetent buffoons to sit on federal benches. It's disgusting.
So that kind of leads me to my next question. We've had in the last week this Attorney General out of New York. I forget what. I know you know for sure because that's your backyard. This seems like this is going to be big because apparently, I mean, we saw the back and forth right before the great 1 million person rally that 6,200 people showed up to. Sorry, I can't stop laughing. It just makes me laugh. But here they are. Barr, of course, waddles out there. All right, we're firing him. The president told me to fire him.
No, he's saying he's stepping down.
Yeah.
Like he voluntarily stepped down.
And then he comes out and said, no, I didn't.
No, I didn't do that, and I'm not. So then Trump said, you're fired. That's how it went down.
So is there anything that guy could do? I mean, are we ever going to be able to see the nuts and bolts behind that? I mean, here's another person who is directly involved with going after Trump's allies, which are very dirty. We've proven that. The thing that frustrates me and kind of subject hopping is John Bolton again. Why didn't he speak out during the impeachment process? Because that would have been damning because the book, I've been reading it. It's fabulous. It's very insightful. It's just like James Mattis's book, another person, the president, and that waste of space, Sebastian Gorka, have called a traitor to their country. By the way, that man has done more than anybody that we've spoke about so far in this entire conversation. He is truly an American hero. He's our Patton. I don't understand how every person who says anything against the president is silenced and they don't get to go talk. Is there some whatever the mafia calls it, where you're just quiet, you don't say anything, you're like, we're not saying anything. I mean,
Omerta.
Right. Yeah, the Omerta.
Silence.
There you go.
No, there's a couple issues. First of all, yes, the president of the United States, you serve at his beck and call, and if he says he doesn't want you as a U.S. attorney, you're out. That's how it is. And every time a new regime takes over, new administration comes in, you see a series of United States attorneys getting terminated and new ones are put in place. So he has every right to do that. But, you have to look into the circumstances of it. The guy's got 3 months left, and the investigations that are taking place in New York are really causing a lot of problems for Rudy Giuliani, Trump's boy. So, Trump steps in, tries to get rid of this guy, and Barr doesn't care about the United States. He doesn't care about the citizens of the United States. All he cares about is protecting Trump. And that's the problem with Barr. And that's why listen, the more I'm reading, the more I'm hearing, I think they may start impeachment proceedings against Barr. They should.
Oh, wow.
They sure should. Because his handling of the Flynn matter and of now New York with Berman, he's done so many horrific things that no attorney general in their right mind would do. The guy is really going to go down in history as the absolute most corrupt, worst attorney general in the history of this republic. But between and even the Berman thing is like whipped cream on the cake. This Flynn thing is beyond belief. I'm practicing almost 39 years. I've seen criminal cases left and right. When you come into court with your client and you're going to take a plea, and you have to do an allocution, and you have to admit your guilt, you are sworn under oath. Next to you is your lawyer. Then the government is there, FBI agents, U.S. attorneys, then the judge. And you stand up in open court in front of all of them, and you say either I'm guilty, and this is what I did, or you don't, and you go to trial. It's your choice. No one has a gun to your head. It's your choice. And the judge says, are you freely and willingly admitting to this? And you say, if you're going to admit it, you say yes. And that's what Flynn did. Flynn, under oath in open court, admitted to crimes. He admitted to lying to the government. That's a crime. He admitted it in open. That's a crime. Yep. I got it. It's a crime. It's a crime. And he admitted it. There's no issue. Sentence him. And just before we get to sentencing, all of a sudden, Trump doesn't like it, so tells Barr, have the Department of Justice withdraw and terminate it. I've never seen this happen, ever. I've never read about it happening in all the law cases I've read in the law books and journals and articles. I've never, ever heard of this happening in my life. I don't know any attorneys who have. It's unprecedented. And it's. I think this could be the catalyst to get Barr impeached. And it should be. And this, as valiantly as the judge in Washington fought to look into what are the circumstances surrounding this. Why would the government do something like this? What is the motivation for? We all know what it is. It's Trump. We know he wants to save his boy. We know that. But okay, let's look into really what's behind this motivation for the government to all of a sudden who brought these charges, who investigated this guy, who put task forces and went after him and got him to admit his guilt. What happened here? Why did this? Why all of a sudden should we just walk away? I got a lot of clients. They would love if the government just dropped everything on them. They'd love it. It's beautiful, but it doesn't happen. Yeah. It never happens. And so it went to they tried to bypass the system and get an expedited determination to prevent the hearing by the trial judge there. So they get this 2-1 decision by the circuit court in D.C. And that's not over. It's going to go en banc. It's going to go in front of the entire bench. I think it's a 12-person bench, 7 Democrats, 5 Republicans. I think 11 are available right now. And when it goes en banc, you'll see this corrupt decision thrown out. By the way, sweet. Corrupt decision.
I mean, isn't this a track record? I mean, Flynn clearly. I'm sorry, you plead guilty, you're guilty. I mean, I'm not. I do not have 39 years of legal experience.
Don't plead guilty. You have the choice.
Yeah.
You don't plead guilty. Go to trial. If you're not guilty, go to trial.
Don't they ask you before you put your sentence in that you're doing this under your own free will? I mean, I know I watch a lot of Law and Order, and it's probably not where I should do it, and you're like cringing, like, oh, God, the host really does that. But I mean, I'm right? They do ask. I mean, I watched the Jeffrey Epstein thing on Netflix, so I heard the question that they ask you, are you saying this under your own free will? Of course, he pled everywhere he could, the 6th, right, the 14th, and the 25th. But, I mean, you don't just go up and plead guilty. You're asked a series of questions to make sure you're doing this under your own free will, right?
There's a plea agreement. Yeah. So the judge says to you, have you had an opportunity to review the plea agreement with your lawyer? And you say, yes. And do you understand it? Yes. And you're here today to plead guilty, correct? Yes. And you're pleading guilty because that's what you want to plead, because you are in fact guilty, correct? Yes. And nobody's forcing you to do this, are they? No. And again, you're pleading guilty here today because this is what you want to do because it's the truth, correct? Yes. How are you going to take that now and say, let's just do away with it? Not even a do-over, just forget it, throw it out. Meaningless, get rid of it. That's what they did on Flynn.
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
I don't get Flynn. I also don't get Roger Stone. But I mean, this administration, to me, has not only let 2 people off on crimes that are bad, but there's also what I would say war criminals walking around free and clear being interviewed, that this president has basically swayed a jury, especially in the military. Eddie Gallagher does not belong walking the earth with the rest of us. That dude viciously murdered a prisoner of war, something that we don't tolerate as Americans. When we see, I mean, I remember in the Gulf War when they would show one of our guys when Saddam got lucky and shot one down, their battered face and how it did. Or even John McCain, who the president hates and even had to move a ship because the name offended him. Bewilders my mind. But I mean, Eddie Gallagher should be in the brig. Like, instead, he's like put up on a hero because he's a Navy SEAL. And there's no knock. In fact, I have SEALs on our show, and I have mad love for Navy SEALs. But that conduct is not, and the SEALs talk. I mean, they all talk. It's not like they're like, he's a great dude. Most of them didn't, but suddenly the president's like, well, those, and I know you are a defense attorney. So, when you think about it.
So my friend represented him. Yeah. My friend represented from New York in the JAG court there. And, I disagree. I think that he should have he got a verdict against him, which he should have. And I think he was out of control, and I think he should have been punished accordingly. And Trump just has this, look, he pardoned Arpaio in Arizona. Look at the people he's pardoned, and wait, it's not over. Wait to see what this guy does between now and January. Let's see how many people he pardons, how many animals he pardons.
So speaking of animals that he could pardon, could he? I keep reading this. Can he pardon himself? Is that?
Yes, he can pardon himself, and he will pardon himself. Mark my words. He is going to pardon himself probably end of December, early January before the inauguration. He will pardon himself. He has to, because, and that's only for federal crimes. That's not state crimes that protect him, just federal crimes. But he'll probably pardon himself. He'll probably pardon everyone in his family. I don't know if he'll pardon Pence. I don't really think he likes Pence too much, but you never know. He probably should pardon Pence as well. And, anyone else, Flynn, whatever's going to happen with Flynn and Stone and all of his cronies, Giuliani. I mean, he'll go on a pardon spree before he's out of office. And people are saying, whoa, he's not going to leave voluntarily. I think that's just to stoke fear in you with this guy. Yes, he's going to leave. He can't stay. There's no way he's going to stay there. I know 10 people that will get him out. Okay, he's not going to stay. Yeah. But the damage this guy's going to do, and mark my words, you'll come back to this tape. Mark my words. From the election, from the decision in November until the inauguration, watch the reckless damage this guy does in that interim period. Watch what he does. I mean, he is going to issue executive orders. He's going to turn things upside down because he's going to go out in flames as, absolutely the worst president ever in the history of this republic to sit in that office, and the most flagrant violator of his oath of office to protect and preserve the Constitution. He has done everything in his power against that, not to protect it, not to preserve it. And he's ignored people in this country. He won't listen to anybody. He won't listen to advisors. He won't listen to, politicians in his corner. He won't listen. This is who he'll listen to. He will not listen to 17 intelligence agencies in the United States who tell him that Russia hacked the 2016 election in his favor. He won't listen to any of them. But Vladimir Putin told him he didn't do it. That's who he listens to.
Yep.
Think about that. Just think about that for a second. Think about that. And tell me, all this ass-kissing with Putin, what benefit has that done for the United States?
None.
What benefit have we gotten based on that? Zero.
No. But he made a mixtape for the Prime Minister for North Korea.
Well, he made peace and love, and we're sending love notes, and everything is good. The guy's ready to start a war right now again. Read the paper today. He's ready to start another war to end the United States. That's what he's saying right now.
But what about these 38 meetings that the president of China and Putin have had this year alone? And no one's covering that. Trump's, of course, avoiding the topic. He won't lay down tariffs on China because they're his homies, and he gets kickback. This money from the Pentagon that people are talking about, and I know the Pentagon is far from the poster child of not corrupt. It's been this way for years. Lobbyists have their hands in everybody's pockets for these, there's $5,000 wrenches out there. We're all familiar with them. I wish the Marine Corps would get more money because we always get secondhand equipment, but that's just a personal gripe. But,
It's true. She should.
Yeah, I don't understand this president and the fear we all have. I mean, a lot of people fear he won't leave, and I know that's all hyped up. But, I think, number one, he wants to leave because he thinks the White House is slummy anyways. Remember, he didn't go to the bunker. He just visited it. He was checking it out. So
He was inspecting it.
With his family, he was inspecting it because that's what they do.
Yeah.
That sounds truthful. I would never deem him. But, where do we go from here? How do we protect mail-in ballots, which coronavirus, no matter who you are, is spiked again because our leadership is stubborn, doesn't want to follow the rules. We're like, nope, we say the WHO and CDC. I did see just this week, he said the administration wants to put blame on the CDC. It's nothing but finger pointing. Nobody owns anything. He hasn't even owned his own conversation in February where he said 15 people are sick. We're going to get this cured. We're at 130,000 Americans are dead. And they're
notice how he's always the victim.
Always.
You know, Donnie Trump is always the victim on everything. You know, and everything's Obama's fault or Hillary's fault. He's been in office over 3 years. You know, I inherited. He didn't do shit, okay? All he did was destroy the reputation of this country, destroy our word, destroy our reputation overseas. I mean, we are banned. Citizens of the United States now are banned from entering countries because of how he botched up this whole virus pandemic, how he just neglected to deal with reality, to deal with science, and just in his own mental, sick, imbecile world came up with his theory of everything. I saw him in one interview. He says, yeah, I never went to med school, but, you know, people think I'm very smart. I probably should have gone, you know. He went to Fordham University for 2 years. We don't know what his grades were there. He transferred to the University of Pennsylvania. We don't know what his grades were there. We don't know who doctored the flight logs. We want the truth, and we can handle the truth. Give us the truth. I bet this guy had a CD average at Fordham. I can't believe he got into Penn. I cannot believe his father didn't give millions of dollars to Penn to get his butt in there and get his deferments from Vietnam when my friend's brothers were going over there getting killed. And this fat ass was sitting around ROTC. He was an ROTC undergrad. Can you imagine that? And then he got drafted and you know, bagged out with 4 or 5 different for shin splints, for deferments.
Yeah, those bone spurs getting in the way, and then gives him the right to.
American.
Yeah, and then he gets to go bash on General Mattis. Yeah, trust me.
Real quick, I want to get back to this Bolton thing.
Yeah.
I think Bolton is a pussy, okay? That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think Bolton had every opportunity to get up and go before Congress and testify and tell the truth. And they wanted him, and he refused to do it. He hid behind bullshit. And now, all of a sudden, his book is out, and now all of a sudden he's talking. I will never buy the book. People can go buy it all they want. I'm sure there's great stuff in there, and you know, that great stuff, we needed to hear that when they were running those hearings. Would it have mattered? They could have had videotape of Trump planning with Putin to destroy the United States, and nothing would happen to Trump. I mean, there's nothing they could have had that this spineless, pathetic, corrupt Senate would have done to vote for impeachment. Nothing. But we needed to see it. The American citizens needed to hear the truth from Bolton, who had so much to say and just, you know, cowered and hid behind his lawyer and behind other people. And all of a sudden now his book's out, so he's going to try to make book sales. From what I'm hearing, he's not going to get a dime of profit out of that book because they're claiming he didn't get final approval from the administration to print it. He may have divulged certain secrets. You know, unlike Trump when he was in the Oval Office with the Russians telling them about certain plans with Israel and Air Force bases, and Trump was just spouting off the mouth there to try to, you know, think that he was with his boys, you know, my Russian buddies here, you know, divulging secrets. But, you know, Bolton, because of that, I don't think he's going to, I think the law is pretty clear. He can't receive any profit from the sales of his book. But I'm not going to shed a tear for Bolton because he could have been an honorable patriot. He could have stepped up and answered the questions and stood up in Congress and did the right thing. He didn't do that.
No.
So I'm sure he's got good stuff to say, you know. Fine. It's too late now.
Yeah.
It's really too late. So sorry.
Yeah. But, it is interesting.
I know you bought the book, you're reading it, you love it. That's good. It's beautiful. Yeah. But for me, I'm so turned off by that guy that I can't. And I've met him a few times as well, you know. And you know, these staunch people that take these hardline positions, you know, anybody to me that's too far weighted on one side, you know, I think they lost their mind. But I try to listen to them. I try to educate myself and understand where they're coming from, and you know, learn from them. But look what he did. That showed me everything. What he did, not failing to stand up and be a real patriot, and all those people, Colonel Vindman and all those people that stood up and suffered for it, like these people these whistleblowers this week that testified. You know they're going to get hammered right now. Watch what happens. All those attorneys that stood up and people that testified in Congress. Trump's going to go after them now. Those U.S. attorneys are going to get fired. I mean, a lot of things. There's going to be recrimination against them for doing the right thing, for stepping up and being patriots.
It's heartbreaking to hear that, to speak out when we clearly have a very, I mean, we already all know DC is pretty corrupt, period. That goes without saying. It's DC. But this president is the epitome of everything that's bad, and he's not doing anything to change. Our country is in the middle of a civil rights movement again, which is great. In the 60s, I still say it was great what RFK was able to do, his brother before him was attempting to do. They really made headway into this. But I think it was half-assed in the 60s. It was like, okay, we got segregation and everybody can go to the same schools now. And here we are in 2020, hundreds of years, but we're still fighting over the term all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter. And this administration refuses to come out and say, you know what, we're actually going to do something about it. Instead, they side with law enforcement, who were getting repeated videos. I mean, even one before you and I went on air, I've watched with a white dude behind the wheel and a white police officer. He goes to pepper spray somebody going 5 miles over the speed limit and saying, dude, you don't need to remove me from my car. Officer tries to remove his cell phone. He's holding it. Officer tries to remove it. Even I know, without even a law degree, you can't do that. You don't have a right. And he doesn't need to move you from the car for his officer safety. As he's leaning with both his hands, by the way, the officer has his hand on the door and his hand on top of the roof. I'm like, officer safety? I don't think so. You're wide open. If you really believe that, it's just another power trip. But instead, we're empowering law enforcement. We're not calling for reform. I don't think we need to defund the police. We need law enforcement. But there needs to be regulations on these guys because far of them are out of control. They're racist. Period. End of sentence. Because again, and I'll repeat, one of my good friends said this. Eric, how many times have you heard the following phrase? Police kill an unarmed white man. It's really difficult to get that answer because you can't think of it because it's probably not happened where the news actually covers that. But we could say the other way. We have a prison system full of people who don't deserve to be in there by the color of their skin. I mean, we have a rapist, Brock Turner, who did, 4 years maybe for raping somebody at Stanford? But a black man is in prison for 60 years for pot. I'm sorry, I just don't see it, and this president wants to do nothing to fix it. In fact, Barr has come out and actually is attacking the cannabis industry as we speak because he doesn't like pot. Maybe he needs to smoke it and he chill out. I don't know, but this whole administration is like, wait a minute, you petitioned and stumped for cannabis to be legal. We're all using it. It's a great thing for cancer patients, veterans for PTSD. It's awesome. It takes us off the pills. It's proven we wake up fresh. I mean, even the NBA isn't testing for it as they come back. And this administration just constantly wants lockdown. And I think, Richard, that's where people get afraid with this guy won't leave office because he's turning everything into a police state. We've militarized the police. They're driving around in tanks that are IED proof. They don't care about anything. They're whipping up on the media. I mean, how many reporters have you saw? I mean, we saw a CNN reporter arrested on air for being black. I mean, that was the only thing I could see that he was doing wrong. Being black in Minnesota seems to be a bad thing. How do we stomp down these fears that this guy's going to make the next 4 months a living hell for us? Because that's what it looks like.
He is. And it's like in Goodfellas, and there's nothing you can do about it. He's going to do it. I mean, he is. He's going to continue on. It almost looks like he's intentionally trying to lose the election. Each day, he does something more corrupt and buffoonish, and just every day it's something new. I mean, if Obama did one of these things, it would be a news cycle for 6 months. But we're just so numb to this guy because every day we can't breathe. It's something new. But what you said about the police shootings, the recent police shootings and unarmed black men and this and that, I mean, what the country needs and what they want is a president with empathy, a president who could, say, look, I feel it. It's horrible. And Trump can't do that because as a sociopath and a narcissist, they have no empathy. So they can't do it. It's impossible for him to do that. Biden will do that. And Biden will be honest about it. But Trump can't be. That's what the country needs. It's not going to change overnight. There are a lot of things that have to take place, and one of them is, education for law enforcement and on excessive force and ways to handle things. But I also tell you, it goes both ways. There has to be education to the citizens that when you get pulled over by a police officer, or there is a direction or a command by a police officer, that's not up for discussion and it's not up for negotiation. You have to do it. You have no choice. And if you don't do that, if you resist arrest, if you grab a police officer's taser and point it at him, or you stand there with a fake handgun and point it at a police officer, nothing good is going to happen. And we're going to be reading about it, and there's going to be more deaths. I mean, it's global education. And I agree with you. The police and law enforcement need it, and they've got to stress it. We cannot have people that are arrested being shot in the back. We just can't have that, and we can't have someone dying over an incident around a fake $20 bill, or someone who maybe fell asleep on a drive-through line at a Wendy's. That person can't end up dead under any circumstances. On those two scenarios, those people cannot end up dead. So it's horrible, and it has to change, and things must change, and people are rightfully upset, and I don't blame everyone for being upset over this, and I know plenty of police officers that are upset as well. Mm-hmm. Overall, I think the police officers are doing an outstanding job, and it's just, you got some wild ones out there, like in every profession. Mm-hmm. Every profession, you have these people, and but it's more dangerous in law enforcement when they carry a gun and they have the ability to take someone's life. So, education and community education and working together. I mean, it has to start with that.
It does.
I think.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of what we need, but I think again it goes back. We can point the same fingers.
This administration put a deaf ear to it.
Yeah, we have nobody calming the flames. Instead, what was fired up by COVID-19 is now fired up by race. I mean, I am happy, and I will say that I think a majority of America, or as the president called us, the silent majority, the ones that didn't show up at his rally, that everybody was there. Not the other rally where they were all cured of COVID-19 by an air filter, but the first rally that 1 million people failed to show up.
A million. 6,000 showed. There was 1 million that wanted to go.
They all wanted tickets, but they strangely didn't even show up. Oh, but I think the problem is a majority of us have stood together. We understand now. I think a lot, and I speak for myself here as a 44-year-old white male. I understand now because I've been able to educate myself, and I've taken the time to educate myself what racism means in America. And yep, I do have white privilege, and I know that. Yep, I do. I haven't had the fear that our black brothers and sisters in our country do. And it's like this administration doesn't want to do that. And then you see the divide, because then if you speak out against some police officers, just like I've spoke out about some Marines, I've spoke out about a Navy SEAL in this very interview with you, I think Eddie Gallagher belongs in a brig right now because what he did was wrong. That's my opinion. I also think Bo Bergdahl belongs in a brig, but that's, again, my opinion. Different administration, but this administration has done nothing to fan the flames. We still have protests every night.
Listen, there's no empathy. They're trying to take down these statues, of
the racist generals,
Southern heroes and generals, and the administration is butting against that. How do you do that? How do you send some black children in the South to Robert E. Lee High School? I mean, how do you do that? It's like sending, Jews in the United States to Adolf Hitler High School.
Right.
How do you do that? You can't do that.
No.
And for the administration to say, no, this is American history, we should keep it. No, the Nazis were history too. They took all that shit down. No, it's wrong, and they should come down. And these were not patriots. No. And they tried to overthrow the government. And the number one was Robert E. Lee. So he is not a hero. Calhoun, not a hero. These were animals, and they were dealt with, and they are not to be remembered as heroes in history. They're just not.
I agree with you. And this administration, to take this one step further with these guys, is the bases. Our bases are named after these folks, and they come out and go, well, soldiers and Marines and everybody, they belong to these bases. And I can tell you, If you go survey and ask any one of us who've served on any base, I can tell you if I was to die on a battlefield in my dying breath, besides saying I love my children and my wife and my mom and my dad and my dog and my country, because I do, I love America, I would not be like, I tell Kaneohe Bay I love it. No, it's not what we say. We don't care about Fort Bragg. We don't care about Camp. Nobody cares about these racist generals that we had no say in it. We don't care about the name of a base. Change it, because it makes no sense to me that there is not a base named after George Patton. It blows my mind. One of the greatest generals of our time, a winning general, right, by the way. He doesn't have an army base. In fact, our first president doesn't have an army base named after him. But a whole buttload of Confederate generals, but by the way, lost because, slavery. And we still have bases. I don't understand. Our country blows my mind, and the people. I mean, I could read you a response to when I went after the Confederate flag, because I think it's a racist flag. I mean, the Klan runs it in the front. It's like there's not statues of Adolf Hitler in Germany, and they lost. There's not a statue of Mussolini in Italy, and there's definitely not one of the freaking emperor in Japan. Why in our country do we have people who were doing something that we're completely against? Why do we have a problem against it? Oh, it's mob mentality. If I hear that one more time, no, it's called the people speaking up, and we're finally going, we've had enough of your bullshit. We understand that piece of paper behind you, right behind you, the Constitution, it says they work for us. They're our voice. We're just speaking up, but they don't like it because they have to work for us now. That's what we're doing. And it's funny, this administration just keeps fighting us. I want the base's name changed. Veterans want it changed. But I mean, I don't even know where to start.
Here's the answer. People got to vote. Got to go vote in November. That's the answer. You've got to vote. You want to change? Got to vote. This guy cannot get 4 more years. He just can't. It'll ruin the country. Yeah. It'll ruin the republic. He's already ruined it. Yeah. We're going to come back from this. It's going to take years to mend the damage that this lunatic has done. But, it'll be a good start with Biden, and we'll go from there. He'll surround himself with bright, brilliant people, and that's what we need.
I just hope, and before you go, the one thing that's is a story that is weighing on my heart. Since April 22nd, a young private from the United States Army has been missing from Fort Hood. She went missing in the bright of day from her base. The administration's been tasked to say something. In fact, mainstream media's been asked to say something, except local Texas media is the only one covering it. And it's very weird to me as somebody who served that a young Latino soldier who last reported that a unnamed sergeant walked in on her when she was in the shower accidentally. And mind you, again, sexual harassment, sexual assault in the military has been a rampant problem. I mean, we couldn't handle don't ask, don't tell. And this president doesn't want to address these things. He keeps rewarding it and rewarding these generals. And as long as they march in step with him, and if they step out, they write books like Mattis did, where Mattis was like, look, all I told the dude is we don't need to go to war with NATO. They're our allies. We need allies. Allies are important to have.
We need NATO.
Yeah, we need NATO. We need friends. It's good to have friends that have weapons too. So we're not always playing we're not the world 911. America's yes, the world's no. And he didn't like that because we're not. And now we have missing soldiers. I've been told, even today, there's another soldier that's been missing since the first week of May from Fort Lewis in Washington. Have you seen any of this? And this president's too busy because we're in such chaos. We could go find and figure out what's going on. It just amazes me that we live in a country where that used to be breaking news. Anyway, I can't even say Fox would break in it because on any given day the president hates Fox. So I mean, the only one he really likes is this One America network that has 3 viewers and they're only online. So I can't figure it out. It's Jim Acosta, that poor man, he's always attacked. But before you go, let me ask you this. You've been doing this a long time, and you've been on CNN as an analyst for a very long time. Have you ever seen a president take such offense to the media on everything?
Well, that's right out of the dictator playbook. I mean, that's what Putin does. That's what the nut does in North Korea. They don't allow it, and they don't tolerate it, and that's what Hitler did. And that's what these autocrats do. That's 101 out of their playbooks. And that's what Trump thinks. He's an autocrat. He thinks he's a sovereign king. And he doesn't believe in democracy. He doesn't believe in the Constitution. So he wants to do things his way. And we fought as best we could to prevent him from doing it. But you got a lot of spineless Republicans in the Senate, spineless, unpatriotic animals. And History is going to look back on Trump harshly, but it's also going to look back on his enablers and those Republicans in the Senate, including Moscow Mitch and Lindsey Graham. They're going to be judged harshly too for this. So
we can take Matt Gaetz with them too. Matt Gaetz can leave with them also. They can all go together on the same plane.
Unbelievable.
I'll pack their bags for them. I'll be at the White House the day after the election. I think there's a whole bunch of us. We're like, if you need help, we will help you move. We will pack your bags. Everybody needs to go. And I agree with you. I think the problem is these folks have tarnished a great nation. I'm not saying I'm not proud to be an American. I am. I love my country. But what I don't like is the way we look to everyone else. We're a clown show. I mean, there was actually a conservative show today that I watched. I'm sorry, I have to laugh. They were like, learn more about police brutality. Hear from a white Canadian woman who was harassed in Canada. This is what they're taking news. This is a serious show that goes on in the middle of the day. Number one, the hosts are drinking, which is awesome. That shows how awesome hillbilly it is. But this is what they're doing. This is on a network that is a very conservative network. And this is their news. And people are just like drinking it up because they're like, look, even this white girl's harassed. I'm like, she's Canadian. And really, you're going to compare that to what our black brothers and sisters go through in our own country? I mean, come on. I mean, they're not the same. But the conservative mindset is, I mean, this is exactly what it is. It just doesn't exist. It's like
not even conservative. It's Trump.
Yeah.
It's not even, Trump is not conservative.
No.
He's not Republican. It's Trump.
Yeah.
It's Trump. That's what it is. We'll fix it.
Yeah,
we'll fix it.
Well, I want to thank you, Bud, for coming on. It's always great. You and I,
right.
we have a lot of fun. We got to have you on. I like having you on at least once a month. I get all my
you got it.
I get all my firepower out.
Everyone. Stay healthy.
Oh, for sure, my friend. So thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to have you back on. Always good to get insight from you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bud. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. And that is Throwdown Thursday for you. You just gotta throw down. That was Throwdown Thursday for you. Big shout out to Richard for joining us again today. Folks, he'll be back again in a few weeks. He's agreed to come on regularly, so we're excited about that. Love having Richard on the show. His wealth of knowledge and his amazing legal experience is always great for me, who takes advantage of him being on at least once a month to save up all of my legal questions about what's going on in this crazy world, because there's a whole lot of people who think that they're Facebook attorneys. But anyways, we have a great show for you to go into. Fan Friday tomorrow. If you grew up in the 60s, you probably watched The Munsters. Well, we have Eddie Munster, or AKA Butch Patrick, here to talk about what it was like being a child star in the 60s. It's going to be great. We look forward to having Butch on the show so we can learn more about, The Munsters, what it was like going from a show that was filmed in black and white and color TV happening. And folks, this is only 40 short years ago, so it's cool to think about where we've come. Black and white TV to TVs that are basically, it's like you're there. So it's going to be awesome to talk to him. Butch also had the amazing opportunity to work for Walt Disney. Not just the company, but the man himself. So we're going to hear about that and what he's up to now. And again, on Saturday, July 4th, we're celebrating America's birthday with our show's good friend and our resident music talent. Well, because you don't want me singing. Trust me, it's not pretty. I don't even sing good in the shower. So Phil Paz will be joining us. Phil Paz is retired Air Force, Oklahoma SWAT. He is now an actor, a singer, obviously, and, well, a comedian. So he told us the last time he was here. Maybe we'll ask him again to tell more jokes, because his joke was actually pretty funny. So we have that for you. So we're going to sing in America's Birthday with some amazing good feel-good Americana songs. And then on Monday, we have a special live show for you. On Monday, we have the great Montel Williams coming back for our Military Monday. Excited for Montel to join us. On Tuesday, we have Robbie Blanchard joining the show. Excited for a great week ahead. So again, don't forget to tune in. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow our show. Share with your friend. Yell it from the mountaintops. Subscribe. Just kidding. Make sure you go do that and share with your friends. We want to thank you again for tuning in to our show. It means so much to us. So, as always, Like I say, we want to thank you for participating and watching our show every day like you do, sharing it, leaving your comments. They mean a million to us. So we want to thank you so much. You're the reason why we're growing so fast is because, I'm going to say it like PBS, like viewers, like you. So thank you guys for tuning in. Our team appreciates you. As always, I'm Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be strong, be smart, and God bless America.
Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point.